Hi, my name is Brian with Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio, and welcome back to another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com.
Alright, we have a GE dryer, and the complaint is that it's making a squealing noise as it's running. See if we can get it to make the noise there. So there's the noise that it's making. So what we're going to have to do is get inside and see what's causing our noise. The tools needed for this repair are a Phillips head screwdriver and a 5/16 nut driver. So the first thing we got to do is take our top panel off here. So we're going to open our door, and there's going to be two screws, Phillips head screws here to remove. So we'll go ahead and remove those. And now we can lift up on the front of our panel and remove. There's three tabs that hold the back into place. They'll slide out as you lift it up. We'll set our panel to the side. And the next thing is going to be to remove our front panel here. There's going to be two screws on the inside here from the inside out that hold the top of the front panel in place. We're going to remove those two screws. They're 5/16 screws. And now we can lift our front panel off of the bottom there. Just lift straight up on the front panel, and it will come off of the hinge tabs at the bottom there. And we can swing our front panel around to the side here and out of the way. And the first thing I would check for noise would be the front glide here, or the upper bearing. The upper bearing that the drum rides on here has three. On this particular one, it's going to have three glides that sit in the bearing, and the drum rides on these glides. If these glides, these ones are still intact, you can see they're getting worn down. You can see the skinny part here that the drum actually rides on, and the thicker part here that actually goes into the front bearing here. But these are still intact. They are worn, but I don't believe that's going to be our culprit. That's creating the noise for us. And you can see once these bearings wear down, it would start rubbing into the actual housing of the upper bearing here. And you can see we get a little bit of rubbing actually on our bearing here. You can see the difference in the color and the groove that it's making in the upper bearing here. It's not bad. If we replaced our three glides here, it would take care of that issue. Another thing you can check that could possibly make noise is our blower wheel here. I've seen the blower wheels loosen from the motor shaft and start rubbing on against our cabinet here. In this case, this one's fine. It's nice and tight and it's not rubbing. So the next thing we're going to want to check is our rear bearing. To do that, we're going to remove the drum. And before we remove the drum, we're going to have to remove our belt here, which I've already done. So to remove the belt, you would go to the back of your motor shaft where the belt and idler pulley is. You're going to release the tension on the idler pulley by pulling to the right side, the idler pulley with one hand, and with the other hand you're going to remove the belt from around the motor shaft, and that'll free your belt and allow you to take your drum out. It is a tight fit to get your hands in between there. Be careful, sharp edges. Alright, we can take the drum out now. We're just going to lift up on the drum a little bit. I'm holding on to the belt with one hand, makes it a little easier to support the back of the drum with the belt and slide the drum out. Move the drum out of the way here, and we can see the inside of the cabinet now. Another possibility of the noise is going to be our idler pulley here. This is what we had our belt tension on, so the belt wraps around this idler pulley and then around the back of onto the motor shaft here. So I'm spinning that. I'm not hearing any noise from that. Sounds normal. It's not bound up or anything. It spins pretty freely. So that looks good. And we already checked our blower wheel. I'm spinning the other side of the motor shaft now, and that spins freely. So like I was talking about the rear bearing here, Our rear bearing, I'll show you on the back of the drum, goes into the hole on the back of the cabinet here. This is our heating element. This is an electric dryer. So we have our double heating element here, and the housing that our rear bearing goes into. So we'll take a look at the rear bearing on the back of the drum here. So this is the rear bearing that goes into the rear bearing in the drum shaft that goes into the back housing, the back cabinet there. And you can see this is actually what they consider the rear bearing. It's a little plastic washer, it looks like, and this one's actually worn down. It should be about this long. It should extend out further, and that part of it's worn down. So this is all that's left of the rear bearing. So the plastic should cover this whole shaft, and it doesn't. So what our noise is this metal shaft rubbing against the inside of our housing that on the cabinet that this shaft goes through. So what we need to do then is just replace the rear bearing, get a new bearing on here, and it will stop our noise. So to replace the rear bearing, it's just going to slide off of the drum shaft here. There's no clips or anything you have to remove, it just sits on there. This is the difference from the old one to the new one, so you can see where it's been worn down. So we'll just kind of clean off any debris that's on the shaft and slide our new one on. Now that we got our rear bearing on, we can reinstall our drum. Just be careful to not lose the rear bearing as you're putting it in, because nothing holds that in place. So you're going to slide it back in, and you're just going to make sure that you put the shaft through that rear bearing housing. Alright, the next step then is to reinstall our belt. Alright, now that our belt's on, we can swing the front panel back around, and we can replace the three glides on the upper front bearing. To replace the glides on the front bearing, you're just going to remove the old glide out of its housing. There's a hole on one end that is going to hook onto the tab. So you're going to place the new one in there and slide the other end into the hole here, and just make sure it hooks onto that tab there, just like that. And we'll do that with the remaining two. Now we can reinstall our front panel back in place, and to do that, there's going to be on the cabinet, there's going to be two tabs at the bottom that are going to go through the holes of the bottom front panel. So we're going to place the front panel onto those two tabs at the bottom first. And now we can bring the front of the front panel in towards the dryer. We're going to have to lift up on the drum to set it onto the front bearing. And there's also going to be two tabs on the front here that go into two holes of the front panel. So we're going to line those up. And then we can reinstall our two screws we took out earlier. And the last thing to do is to put our top panel back in place. There's going to be the three holes here that we have to line up with the three tabs of our console here. So we're going to put those into place. And then you kind of have to pull out on the top panel to get it to go underneath this frame here, part of the frame, underneath this tab of the lid here. So you kind of have to line these and the three tabs up at the same time. and then we can open the door and reinstall our 2 screws through the front panel to the top panel. Now we can plug our dryer back in and test it out. And you can see our noise has gone away.
Thank you for watching another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com.